Hi guys, TonyDubs here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Jabra Elite 75T. I'm very much excited to do this review because I think these are one of the best true wireless earbuds I've actually tested, and I've tested in excess of 50 different buds. Now in this review I'll be covering all variety of different aspects. There'll be video timestamps down below if you want to skip to your favorite part. Before proceeding, I should mention that the Jabra Elite 75T are available for around £170 in the UK and around $150 in the US. I know, damn you US lot. The links in the description below. The locally link will take you to your localized Amazon store, and also in the description you'll find alternatives to the 75T should you wish to consider them, so worth bearing that in mind. Now, before proceeding, I also do have to give a shout out to my Instagram. If you do have Instagram, I'd very much appreciate a follow. It's at TotallyDubbed. It'll be on your screen right now. And indeed, yes, you guessed it, in the description. So let's get into this review. So let's first start off and talk about what you get in the box. Now, aside the case and the earphones themselves, which we'll talk about in just a bit, you've got a set of ear tips. It's small and large, and medium is already included. And then you've got a USB Type A to USB Type C connectivity. The reason behind that is because you've got a USB Type C port over here to charge them. They'll take around 2.5 hours to charge, and you will be pleased to know that these earphones have 7.5 hours of total battery life, but with the case add up to 28 hours, which is pretty insane if you think about the size of the case. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because most of its competitors, so let's say the Track Air Plus or others, have got a relatively sleek design and offer not as long as battery life, or they've got a much larger design, so for example the Creative Outlier Air over here, and therefore offer almost the same comparable level of battery life. So it's great to see that Jabra has been able to kind of shrink the size, make it very portable and slender, and yet make it that you got actually good battery life. Now, in terms of the earphones themselves, I'm actually a fan of their design for a variety of reasons. First off, in terms of the looks. Now, the looks of the earphones look great in ear and also out of the box, but also the fact they come in a variety of different colors. Most of its competitors, let's say the Track Air Plus, only come in a variety of a limited amount of colors, whilst other earphones, let's say the Creative Outlier Air, at least the regular version, on the gold version, which is slightly different, only comes in one color. So it's nice to see that Jabra has included a variety of different colors. Here I've got titanium black, but they do also come in like a pinkish color as well. Now, as for the actual size of them, I do like to say that they are somewhat of a middle ground. They're not as slender as the Track Air Plus, which by far are one of the most slender earphones on the market, but nor are they as large as the Creative Outlier Air, due to mainly the stem, which, or should I say the stem, the nozzle over here, and in comparison to, let's say, the Sony WF XM3s, then they are lots more portable and will stay in your ears. So if you're going to be looking for something for gym wear, you might also want to consider the Elite Active 75T, which have got slightly different rubberized design and less sleek looking, but other than that are pretty much identical in terms of design and functionalities as these Elite 75Ts. So another one I do want to mention is also controls, because here again I think Jabra have kind of nailed it. They don't have touch sensitive buttons, and truthfully, while I do love the touch sensitive buttons on the Track Air Plus, sometimes it is a bit frustrating when you're tapping away at your ear, and other earphones out there, there's plenty to name, just don't have great touch sensitive buttons and often mean that you have to redo your controls. Here in this case, the Jabra Elite 75Ts have actually got physical buttons. Now, for those people who might have seen my Track Air review, my Creative Outlier Air review, you'll know that these buttons over here are actually really hard to press and an absolute pain, whilst these ones are actually very soft and easy to respond. Now, the beauty of that is that not only do they respond very well, they're also extremely easy to press, and yes, they do have a little bit of resonance in your ear when you're pressing a button, but on the whole, I just really didn't have any issues whatsoever controlling these earbuds wirelessly with my music or indeed on calls. Next up is the Jabra app, which again is something that's really comprehensive and really well included over here, because not only can you customize the earphones to your liking, but how Jabra has integrated the menu system, and it's just really well thought out. So first off, you can see the remaining charge of both the case and the earphones, which normally some of its competitors will only include one or the other. You can choose in terms of your moment. So for example, if you're on a commute or not. You've got a hear through mode, which you can enable or disable, and you can enable how much you want to hear through, which again, great little addition over here. And then you've got the music equalizer. So you can see you've got a 5-band equalizer, and this is my EQ, which I'm going to reference in the sound quality section in just a bit. But what it's really great to see is that you've got a 5-band equalizer that you can customize and you can tailor yourself. Now, if you don't want that, you can use the preset ones over here, but again, they do have their own equalizer, and you can adjust that in a neutral setting as well. This is my own EQ, reducing the highs just a little bit, the 4 kilohertz region just one tad, and the bass, the 60 hertz region as well. So what I'm trying to say over here is that it's really nice that they've integrated a 5-band equalizer rather than a 3-band equalizer that most of its competitors do, and furthermore that you can add several presets and use them as well. Better still, these earphones will transfer across other devices. So when you put in the EQ, it kind of stores it, and if you were to go to another device, it will still store it even though you might not be connected to your primary device, in other words, let's say your smartphone. In terms of the soundscape, this is just in terms of if you want to listen to pink noise, for example. You can edit your widgets as well, and if you go on headsets, you've got even more options. So you've got the headset firmware, so if you want to update your firmware, which mine is fully updated, I'm just on airplane mode right now. In terms of headset settings, you can got the audio experience, so for example you can enable or disable auto pause, and when hear through is enabled, you can also have this to mute audio or continue playing audio. The call experience, yet again, you can hear your own voice. You can mute to unmute calls as well. The call quality, you can add more treble or more bass when you're on a call, and even prioritize the Bluetooth device. And in terms of headset assistance, you can have it in terms of battery power modes. You can adjust that if you want, and even disable it altogether. And in terms of the headset feedback, again, you can tailor this in terms of voice or tone guidance. Again, you can see it's very comprehensive, and I really like what they've done. It's just very well done. Now, you've also got the My Sound settings, so you can see here I'm on the Jabra default hearing profile, but if you wanted to do, you can do a little audio test, and it goes through the different tones, and essentially it gives you kind of more of a personalized sound. By personalized, it's more of a factoring what frequencies you can or can't hear and kind of compensating for that, rather than kind of giving you a personalized audio experience like you might get on, let's say, the Neuraloop earphones. Now, aside from registering or a little bit more of information about the earphones, you can also have them as to find, so you can use this to find your earphones if you were to have lost them, so you will need to enable it and activate it. And now we get on to performance. Now, first off, I want to talk about connectivity, because these earphones, as well as predecessors, should I say, suffered from connectivity issues. Now, in my tests, I had no issues whatsoever with the 75T. Not only did they pair up to my phone seamlessly, but in terms of them pairing up to themselves, left and right channels, it's actually incredibly well done as well. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that in terms of the master and slave driver, the right driver is the master driver, whilst the left driver is the slave driver. So therefore, if you're going to be using one independently from the other, you can only do it in that combination, whilst if you do it the opposite way, then it just won't work and you won't be able to use the earphones. A slight oversight potentially from Jabra, but something I thought worth bearing in mind. Another thing is the fact that these earphones actually connect to 8 devices. Now, that's not simultaneously, but they do support multi-point. In other words, they do support 2 devices being paired up at the same time, which is somewhat of a rarity when it comes to true wireless earbuds, and it's great to see that Jabra has integrated this. The only thing you should bear in mind is that other than being simultaneously paired to 2 devices, is that if there's music or something playing on one device, that will need to be paused before switching on to the next one, and that's somewhat of a given, but just something I just thought to point out. Now, as for Bluetooth codec, here is somewhere that I'm not too impressed by the Jabras, and that's because they only support the SBC and AAC codecs only. Now, while they're not too bad, specifically if you're an iOS user, for Android users, AAC isn't the best codec. The reason behind that is because certain phones, such as Huawei or Honor devices, have slight latency issues when using the AAC codec, and for example using an app that's notoriously bad for it, and that's YouTube. Yes, this platform that you're watching this on, YouTube has pretty bad latency with the AAC codec on certain phones. Now, in my case, the S10 Plus, the Galaxy S10 Plus that is, I had no issues whatsoever with my Samsung device, and using the AC codec was perfectly fine. I just wish that aptX or aptX HD or LDAC codec was supported with these earphones. It would have just made it a little bit easier for Android users, and also benefited in terms of the overall sound quality. Next up is recording quality. Now, these earphones have 4 microphones positioned, and to give you an idea of how they sound, what I've done is done a recording test. So let's jump straight into that.
So everything you can hear right now is coming directly from the Jabra Elite 75Ts. So you'll be able to hear for yourselves how it actually sounds, but I will say subjectively, it's actually really impressive. So in order to give you a test, I'm going to compare it to the Libertone Track Air Plus and also the Outlier Air, and give you a little bit of a difference in terms of how they sound. Now, they're being recorded via my smartphone via an app, and then that is then going into my video editor. So with this test, what I'm going to do is play a song. It's from my friend Priya, and it's going to be playing through my set of bookshelf speakers right now. So it's coming straight in front of me, and both ears basically are positioned straight to my bookshelf speakers. So as I'm speaking, it should give you an indication of how background sounds are. Now, if I were to just stop talking, so that gives you an indication of how it actually deals with background noise. So following up from that, we've got the Libertone Track Air Plus. Again, everything you can hear right now is coming directly from the earphones and being recorded in the exact same way. Now again, I'm going to play Priya's song in the background. It's exactly the same volume as it was. Nothing has changed on my DAC and my speakers. And again, I'm just speaking while the speakers are just positioned straight in front of me. Now I go quiet. So that should give you an indication of how it sounds with some backgrounds, and hopefully you'll agree with me, given from this test, the Libertone Track Air Plus sounds a lot more muffled and don't seem to pick out my voice as good as the 75T. And finally, we've got the Creative Outlier Air, so you can see them again in my ears, and yet again, same sort of testing methodology with the earphones recording all my voice. Now, you might be able to straight away tell that the Outlier Air have got more of a mid-range kind of difference in comparison to the other 2 earphones, and very much less emphasis on the bass. Now, I'm just going to play Priya's song again in the background, exactly the same test as I was doing before, with the bookshelf speakers positioned in front of me, and hopefully here you'll be able to hear there's maybe a bit more environmental sound coming through with the Creative Outlier Air. And that should give you an indication of how the Outlier Air cope with some background music or background sounds playing in sort of a normal environment.
Now, with the recording test out of the way, I do want to mention that these earphones do not have active noise cancellation, something again that some of its competitors do offer, and at this price range, just kind of like its codecs, I was expecting a little bit more from the Jabras. On the plus side, passive noise isolation is pretty good, and that means you can enjoy your music. Now, as for music, here's where I was really impressed with the Jabra 75Ts. They might not compete like the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2 in terms of their overall audio quality, be it from their overall soundstage and in terms of mid-range reproduction, but at its price range, I am absolutely gobsmacked of how well they sound. So breaking down in terms of sound frequencies, in terms of the sub bass, they've got a decent extension. Yes, they do cut off, but they do have a nice extension and rumble at the low end. As for the bass, it is present, very much present if you don't EQ, and if you do EQ it a little bit, what you'll notice here is that you've not only got great precision and clarity in the mid-bass tones, but you've also got a great sort of emphasis and feeling of bass over there, which some of its competitors can't really say that they do both really well. As for the mids, they are a little bit recessed, a little bit pushed back. You can EQ it, but if you do EQ it, then you might find it's a little bit too artificial sounding. So what I found is using a kind of a flat curve in the mid-range frequencies resulted in the best sort of sound quality. As for the highs, they do extend very well, a little bit too much, a little overzealous if you don't EQ them, but then if you EQ them, they do come down a little bit and do give you that great extension and high end. Now, as for the soundstage, here is again very impressive because the 75T might not sound as wide sounding as, let's say, the Creative Outlier Air or the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2, but in terms of their instrument separation, their width and depth, it's pretty well done, and I must say I'm very impressed when I was listening to music. I didn't feel like I was missing something, whereas with other earphones, let's say the Sony earphones for example, they sound a little bit closed sounding and just feel like there's something missing there, and that's not the case with these Jabra Elite 75Ts. So what is my verdict on the Jabra Elite 75T? Well, when I was entering this review, I was a little bit skeptical, but what I can say after having tested them extensively, that I'm actually really impressed with Jabra have done over here. From the design of the case, to the design of the earphones, to the app integration, to the actual overall sound quality, and furthermore, the benchmark setting call quality that these earphones have, it's actually outstanding as the overall package you get. Yes, they don't integrate better Bluetooth codec support, let's say aptX or above, and they don't have active noise cancellation, but past those two factors, I can't think of any other better earphones. And as such, they actually get my Best Buy award, which is pretty much very rare for me to give away because an earphone has to tick a lot of boxes, specifically when it comes to audio, and as such these earphones are very much one of the best in its class. So hopefully you enjoyed this honest, unbiased, unpaid review. If you have, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to see more, and favourite and share, as it will always help the channel grow. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed, take care and bye bye.